Okay, you are live. You do look a little different, but you are live and ready to go.
Good evening. I'd like to call the June 28th, 2021 Town Board Workshop meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Here.
Councilmember Stafford,
Here.
Councilmember Zafranik,
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Here.
Supervisor Schultz.
Here. Please rise for the pledges to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At some point, you're going to need to see Linda. Okay, first up, for this week, we're going to have 4 special use permits. The first will be for the Assembly Hall of Jehovah's Witness to park 4 travel trailers to house volunteer workers. Next up is Frontier Management to construct a car wash. Frontier Management, that's the former Suburban Plaza, now called Town Center Plaza. There's Cloud9 Hookah Lounge to operate a hookah and cigar lounge. That's a new application. That one's over on East Henrietta Road. And then we have Aladdin Hookah Spot Inc. to operate a hookah lounge. That's the continuation from the previous meeting. If you remember, they had appeared in their plans to have everything compliant with the New York State carve out for hookah lounges. But one of the issues is that you're not supposed to operate within so many feet of a church. There's not exactly a church there, but a congregation does hold meetings there. So we asked for a letter from that church saying it's okay. So those are the 4 applications. The Cloud9 has some issues that I see in terms of it, the hookah and cigar lounge. So I would not be the least bit surprised if that one ends up, whether it's tabled or turned down or whatever. There's some issues there. I don't think they have as full an understanding of the hookah carve out laws as the other folks do. Right.
I did want to interject. I'm not sure if you guys saw the email from Jenny. They have removed their cigar lounge component on that application.
They have, but in their discussion, they talk about other things like the band. You know, I don't think they understand that the carve out includes requirements that employees not be paid. So I'd want to look into that some, but I suspect that that's got to include bands, because the whole point of that smoking ban was that there was nobody who would be essentially financially disadvantaged to the point where they'd be forced to work in a smoke-filled environment. And so, you know, people say, well, why are those carve-outs there that the employees at a hookah lounge have to either be owners or volunteers? It's because, again, you don't want somebody who essentially is getting paid to have to sit in the smoke-filled room. They should have to want to be in that smoke-filled room. Well, again, that seems to me that includes band members. So when I read their answers to, like, they've talked about wanting to have alcohol, they wanted to have a bunch of different things, and they said, well, we don't know if we can make it if we have it. Their issue isn't those other things, it's the hookah. And so, you know, I just don't see that they're ready yet, but obviously we're going to hear it and we'll go from there.
So I guess one of my questions is if we are getting more requests for special use permits for hookah lounges, should we take a look at having some restrictions, you know, restricted areas put on as to where hookah lounges should be situated at, particularly with the new cannabis law coming into effect?
So we absolutely need to do that for the new cannabis laws. I've been advising people who come in that if your goal, and I do think these are somebody who had that intention of also being a cannabis lounge, that they need to understand that we have not had a chance to put those things in place yet. You know, they've asked me, where do I think they'll go? I said, I have no idea. I'm just 1 out of 5. If I had to guess, the 2 places where you could look, we have the industrial like or limited commercial districts, which is where we allow adult entertainment today. There's 3 different areas. One is Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, just east of where it intersects with Jefferson. There is one at the end of Jarley, and I always forget the name of the other one, but that's right across the thruway of it. But the zone basically straddles the thruway. Jarley is where we looked, the road that we had the the pop-up outdoor movie theater, drive-in movie. And then the 3rd location is on Erie Station Road. It's actually it's called Riverton Way, even though Riverton Way isn't in Riverton. Just like Marketplace Drive isn't next to Marketplace. But it's off of Erie Station Road, east of East River. So basically between about a 1/3 of the way from East River to the intersection with Thruway Park. So those are the 3 locations where we allow adult entertainment. I can't see, again, it's up to the 5 of us to decide, but if I had to guess, that's the most likely scenario where we would allow them. Whether we're going to allow any additional, I don't know. The other location, that's a possibility because it's up to them, not us, is the Genesee Farm Market. Regional Market, thank you. Genesee Regional Market is whether they allow it.
They've got the cidery there.
Right, so, but other than that, like, I don't remember if it's the same people who are putting in the special use permit asked for that one. I said, all I know is I wouldn't vote for this location as a location for cannabis because it's too darn close to the high school and middle school.
Well, there's houses right across.
And there's
the
houses
street.
right across the street, so,
Ice cream shop.
right,
Just took an ice cream shop with kids.
with
Yeah,
kids,
kids
right,
all the time,
exactly.
right.
So, and so that goes back to one of the things, I mean, depending on if you guys see that we would never put a hookah lounge here, then we shouldn't table it, we should deny it. If you think that if they crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's that you would consider it, then we should table it. But obviously we got to get the information from them, let them know what we need to hear before we table it, but.
I'm just curious about what their parking expectations are, because when it's warm weather, you know, like we were talking, and the ice cream place is going, that parking lot is packed. So where are they going to park?
Is it?
Expectations are going to be closed at, I mean, 5 to 11. I mean, that ice cream place is hopping probably to what, 8 o'clock?
Right. Is this the,
This is the one.
is it the plaza with the ice
Cloud
cream?
9.
We believe it is.
I thought it was next to the,
I'm looking it up. I'm
yeah,
not
because
sure.
I thought it was next to the dive shop, but I could be wrong. It's possible it's the one that's in the same,
Oh,
exact same
so next
plaza.
to the dive shop is where that urgent care is, that half of that urgent care building?
I don't know, that rings a bell, but again, there've been a lot of people calling about hookah and future cannabis, so.
Yeah.
um,
Well, see, and that's what it says is 2755, and that is the ice cream shop currently. So I'm assuming it's in that
One of
plaza.
those buildings in
Yeah.
that plaza, yeah.
I mean, it could be wrong. Sometimes it is, but that is the ice cream shop. That's where it says 2755.
Gotcha.
It says 2755 to 2761.
Probably this whole plaza.
Right.
Is that, Steve, it's Kevin. It's at the south end of the Pontillo's building.
That's what we're thinking.
Yeah, it's right next, directly north of the.
So again, if we think that is a highly inappropriate place for something like this because of the ice cream shop, then again, we should let them know that. And
Yeah, I would not vote for it.
right.
Based on the
So
location.
I don't want to make that decision now. I'm just saying, you know, like I said, if we already know today, even if they came in fully compliant, that we wouldn't want it at that location because of all the kids at the ice cream shop, then we shouldn't table it. We should vote it down. If we think that if they did everything properly, we'd allow it there. A lot of it's available retail. You know, a lot of it there just isn't. space available or space available at the right price.
All right, so you're saying that there's more hookah lounge applications that could be coming in, and I think that goes back to my original question, is if we're getting more and more hookah lounge applications, should we consider restricting hookah lounges to a specific location?
Well, again, to do that, we need to pass a zoning law, so it's not a short process.
I know.
But yes, as I said, we should, because we absolutely have to do it as part of our response to the cannabis law.
So if we, as we're considering the cannabis law, maybe we can also consider hookah lounges and
Correct.
that cannabis
Yep.
Regulations. Okay.
This is supposed to be in the ice cream building?
No, it's that same plaza.
Right
It's
next
all
door.
it's got a range of addresses. It's one parcel with a
Okay.
range of addresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Untitled is there.
Yeah.
Restaurant, then there's like.
So it's in that
That's in
block
that,
building.
and according, basically what Kevin was saying, so there's the ice cream shop is kind of out on an island, and
Yep.
then there's a building with like 4 businesses in it,
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 suites. This is the suite closest to the ice cream
I
shop.
see it. Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
But I mean, when families come in there, and there's pizzeria and all that sort of thing there, so there's families that are
No,
hanging out through that.
understood.
plaza.
Yeah, like I said, and I don't know if these are the same people or if it was the Cloud9 folks. Somebody came in and asked me about this location a month or more than a couple months ago. And I basically said, boy, it doesn't seem like a good spot, especially if you're interested is to go to cannabis.
I wonder if they own that.
Yeah, I
So,
see there's a letter here from the 27th of May, so.
right. It's possible it's them. I just don't know.
The newest one? Yeah, seen that
It's
one.
kind of,
too.
it's kind of contradicting itself.
Yeah, it went back.
So. Okay, there will be a town board presentation from Jack Parker and Vivian. They're 4th graders at Sherman Elementary. I had joined their class. They presented some stuff. They put together a presentation. I believe Jack and Vivian will be here in person and Parker will be online. And Parker put together a online presentation and got it to the town clerks so that they'll be able to bring it up during the meeting. So,
Nice.
and then there's actually another group from that same class who is actually, they're going to be presenting at the library board because they had proposed about renaming, the possibility of renaming the town of Henrietta. And I explained to them why that would be so difficult. And so then they said, they came back the next week with a counter proposal. What if we just renamed the library? So then I had to teach them about the difference between the town, who's governed by town
Right.
law and general municipal law, and the library, who is governed by educational law and has their own board. So they're going to present. I put them in touch with Adrian, and I believe they're on schedule for your next library meeting.
That
So
is a great project for
It's-
those kids. They probably have learned so much.
absolutely.
It's impressive what these young people do.
Yep.
It's just really
And,
impressive.
you
to
know,
me.
school's already done, so
So they're
they're
really.
coming
they're-
in on their
oh, yeah,
summer
they're-
vacation to do this.
They had a Zoom meeting with the teacher after school was already over to go through this, to make sure, they wanted to make sure they were ready for the presentation. They're very excited, very enthusiastic.
And what did you say the ages were of these kids?
4th grade,
It's 4th grade,
Oh my God.
completed 4th.
right?
That's amazing.
I
Yep.
know.
So impressed.
Then we have 4 public hearings. The first is consider updating the town of Henrietta comprehensive plan. And again, someone had raised a question about this. We're not, in other words, the update's already done, for lack of a better way to put it. We just did the update to the comprehensive plan in 2019, and at the time, we had 2 topics that we pushed off because we had to finish up with the moratorium, and they were complex portions. One was incentive zoning, the other one was solar codes. And so that's what we covered under our supplemental GEIS. And the plan was, we wanted all the stuff in one location, so we're going to attach the finding statement or summary from the SGEIS to the comprehensive plan. And in order to do that, we need to do it by resolution. Right? Got that right?
That's
Doug?
right.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, we had, so again, the last step in the process for incentive zoning, we've had the public hearings, we did well, before that, we did the supplemental GEIS. We accepted the findings. We had the public hearing. We put forth the law. We waited 10 days? And now we can actually adopt the laws to implement the incentive zoning. So that'll be on the discussion. Any questions on that? Again, nothing's changed since the last few meetings we've had that, but it's a lengthy process. Similar, we had had the public hearing for the offsite storage car dealerships. We had considered potentially doing it last meeting, but we decided there were a couple other changes we wanted to get in place. They weren't really substantive in terms of needing to reopen the public hearing. Maybe we did, because I see we continued it. Yeah, we left it open, right?
Right.
So we left it open so that we could continue it, because we did make some changes when we knew we were going to make changes. So again, it's back on the table for this week, and hopefully we can get it in place. And then that ties into number 6, which was Daytona Partners with working with Subaru. They will have a Subaru representative. As you should have seen, they supplied a map. They addressed our concerns regarding fire lanes and safe loading and unloading and not interfering with other folks. So you guys will have to essentially look at those plans, decide if they've done enough to overcome the objections, and decide whether it's approved or not approved.
Did you skip the refuse collection prior to the car dealership?
He was just linking the proposed.
No, I was
law.
looking 5 and 6 together.
I meant for the public hearing.
Oh, I might have. Sorry.
And
I had jumped down to the agenda stuff because they're tied together. Yep. Yeah, so one of the other public hearings is to modify Code Chapter 234 to limit the applicability of the refuse collection map when there's less than 4 licensed collectors. So if you recall, when we had 5 or 6 licensed collectors, there were complaints that you could have garbage collection done on a street every day of the week. And it was like herding cats to try to get them all on the same days. There was no way to get them all down to a single day. So the compromise was to get them down to 3 days, a maximum of 3 days. Well, with the absorption of a buyout of a lot of the smaller companies by Casella, we're now down to 3 licensed providers. And one of them sent something in saying, we'd like to update our routes, change our routes. And it brought this issue up that it makes no sense for our town clerks to spend the time keeping the map up to date. There was some talk about, should we just get rid of that chapter? I'd prefer not to get rid of that chapter because there could come a day when we get a 4th, and then we'll have to bring it back. So the way the law, the updates that I proposed basically suspend the maintenance of that map while there are 3 or fewer collectors. It includes the process that happens when the 4th one comes on board, how we essentially reactivate it. And we gave a sample what the map will look like online. We're going to keep the map located there, but it's going to have a big thing across it that this is not enforced while we're, essentially while we only have 3 or fewer. One of the changes that came from you guys, I don't remember who, that we did put in there. So one of the things we talked about is that because there's only 3 collectors, as long as each of them hits the neighborhood on a single day, we're guaranteed 3. Someone said, well, does that mean garbage and recycling? To my knowledge, everybody does that, but just in case, we put that in parentheses, that refuse collection, it includes both solid waste and recycle. recyclable. So, so that should cover us.
There was no way to herd them all together, so they all do one neighborhood one day and one
It,
next.
yeah, it's based off, they all have these truck routes. You know, I had floated the idea about getting down to one, and basically one of the things you would do is you would take a section and you would bid it out, and there'd be only a single provider potentially who got the neighborhood, with the idea that they then, well, some people were so brand loyal, there was no way they were interested in it. It'd be interesting to see if that's still the case, now that it's just two big players, largely, with the third player is only in certain parts of town, at least last I knew. So I'd be curious to see if that brand loyalty is still there. I know like Al's was one of those providers who had really strong brand loyalty, but unfortunately he got bought out. So, because one of the things that happens is if you can do that, it potentially represents cost savings, because now the truck stops at every house along the way instead of, you know, every fifth or fourth or whatever.
Yeah, when I looked into it before, you know, like Brighton has just one, but then they had to put it on their taxes, and it was a whole different
Oh, yeah,
process.
that's a whole different.
Right, whole different process when they went to one contractor. But I was just wondering if you could, the contractor, say we do this part of town on Monday, this part on Tuesday, and this part on Wednesday, all three of them, you know.
So my neighborhood has 2 people pick up on Friday. There's 2 different companies pick up on
Okay.
Friday. So it feels like, and each of them do separately recyclables and garbage. So it's like there's 4 trucks going down my road.
Right.
But it's all on one day at least. Yeah. It's all on one day.
Yeah, it gets a little tougher that way. Like I said, that other solution was to essentially bid out neighborhoods. And then, you know, it wouldn't go on taxes. They'd still have the bill, but the idea is it would be, you know, bid lowest rate. We'd basically have to put together standardized services. And then some people wanted standardized deductions, or discounts. So, you know, some of the businesses offer veterans discounts, some offer seniors discounts.
They do
We're
read
comparing
that
apples to apples, we'd have to have that.
there's 3 in town, and if you go on Henrietta Highlights, I don't know which one it is. I've had Waste Management forever, but I do read on Henrietta Highlights that there's one company that is very,
Oh, yeah, that's mine.
they don't, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. And my concern would be with putting all your eggs in one basket. If you end up with that, you're kind of stuck. you know?
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily one company for the whole town.
Right.
It's basically districts. So,
But if they mess up
I
in a
agree.
district, you don't have another option.
Well, yeah, but I think that then you would actually have more to hold over them because,
right, they could lose that whole neighborhood.
yeah, they could lose that whole neighborhood if you're not being responsible.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, that one,
Is that the one you have?
that's the one I have.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was 3 weeks there.
I would be really unhappy.
Yeah, we were unhappy.
So we'll have to take a look at, like I said, maybe for the fall issue, I'll raise the question again, see what people think. And we'll go from there. And then the last one is the proposed local law to revive the zoning codes with regards to car dealerships. Which that one is, yeah, so that one's largely cleanup, but it also includes the, you know, the offsite storage for car dealerships. What that basically, it does 2 things. There's a portion in there that makes it, right now, the authorization for car dealerships is actually in the negative. You can't find it in the allowed uses. It's only in the prohibited uses. And under prohibited uses, it says they're not allowed except for this area. That causes a lot of problems when these other zones talk about anything that's allowed here or not allowed there. So what we do instead is we say that in the commercial B1 district, they are allowed, but only in this district and only with a special permit. And then In all the other districts, it says they are prohibited except for that one place. And so it's now really clear when it says over in industrial, well, anything that's allowed in a commercial zone, there were people trying to argue, well, the car dealerships are allowed in the commercial zones. But the restriction to being located there is only in the,
Industrial, yeah, or
located in the, right, is located in the commercial zone, and so it doesn't apply to industrial. Now it's expressly forbidden in the industrial zone to get rid of that confusion there, and it's expressly prohibited. Any of the other zones that, like, we didn't bother with residential, because in residential zones, if it's not allowed, it's prohibited. In the other ones, they have these catch-alls, so unless they are expressly prohibited. So in the other zones, we expressly prohibit it, and the only place it's allowed is in that one stretch on Jefferson Road. So
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot clearer this way.
Mhm.
okay, so that covers, in addition to the public hearings, that covers 3, 4, 5, and 6. 'Cause again, I tied 6 in when we were talking about the map. No, and 7, sorry. And then for 8, so one of the things that was brought to our attention is the smoking restriction is actually only inside. It's not actually illegal to smoke in the park, you know, even in and around kids. The discussion when we did for lack of a better way to put it, a straw poll, everybody felt we should just prohibit smoking from all town property.
I thought the previous board did this about 6 years ago, because I remember it being, stopping any smoking in the park or any vehicles.
If they did so, I don't know what happened.
I
to
don't
it.
recall, but we could ask the clerks to search the resolutions. Maybe it just wasn't codified.
That's exactly it. It was a resolution. It just was never codified.
Did it, I mean, so
The resolution passed,
Right,
but it's not actually in the town
oh,
code.
okay, so,
Without it being in the town code, you have a hard time enforcing it.
right,
So
I mean, if it was already passed, does it just have to be added
No.
to the town code, or do we have to vote?
they passed a resolution saying all town property should be smoke-free.
Right.
The problem is that doesn't create the local law. So we have to start the local law process to update the chapter.
Okay, I thought
They
we-
never did that.
I thought they did it.
No.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing. So, yeah, everybody thought it was there, and when we searched for it, we couldn't find it. And so basically, this is just it extends that prohibition that's currently in all town facilities to all town properties. It's pretty straightforward. This next week, I'm gonna be working on the cul-de-sacs, updating, folding back in the recommendations from the residents to update the law. The gist of it is, for most of them, they would prefer no overnight parking versus no parking whatsoever, although a lot of them said they liked Tim Lessing's idea, Highway Superintendent Tim Lessing, they liked his idea of we move the parking from the outside of the circle to the inside of the circle, because it, one, makes it easier for the larger vehicles to get around because it's a bigger radius. It also, two, makes it safer because you won't have kids darting out from their yard in between parked cars. So it gives greater visibility to the kids, any kids playing in the yard. So I'm going to be working on updating that and updating the list. There were 1 or 2 places where it still made sense to have no parking, at least a portion of the circle, like where there were crash gates and stuff like that. So I've just got to go through all of the input, both emails and at the public hearings, and essentially update the local law accordingly. So
Would you mind sharing the list that you currently have with the rest of the board?
Sure, it was in the resolution that went out.
It's the
last time.
same list, okay.
Same list.
I wasn't sure if anything had
No,
changed.
nothing, I mean, other than, again, when I'm done with this process, the list will
Something
have
will
changed.
change. Okay.
But yeah, no, it's the starting point's where we left off the last time this was at the public hearing. And then we're gonna have a call for a public hearing for proposed local law to update the ethics code. So they filled in all the blanks, the remaining stuff. There's still some things that we're gonna have to make a decision on. One of the biggest questions, I won't say biggest, but one of the things that had people passionate on different sides of the argument was the size of the board. And so they're making a recommendation for 5, which is essentially 1 person who's the internal appointment. So currently that's Linda Salpini, and then 4 who are appointed by the board. And when they came back with that recommendation, I suggested that they do it. Their 4-year terms staggered, so 1 person is replaced each year. There were some who felt strongly that there should be 6 or 7 people on the board. Don believes it should be an odd number. There, again, a lot of different stuff. So I've asked we're going to want to try to make a decision as to how we want to present that resolution or that proposed local law for the hearing. So on Wednesday, we'll be having a bunch of this discussion. I've asked some of the ethics board members to be there and explain the pluses and minuses of 5, 6, or 7 member board. But like I said, there's a couple other things. Most of the other areas we'd already weighed in on in terms of, how much of the sword versus shield, to use the old nomenclature, the board has. So this go around was mostly with respect to that based on our feedback last time. So in my reading of it, they've matched very well with what we asked them to do. And like I said, the only real question mark left that I see it is what's the size of the board. Any questions on that?
And at first they're leaning for 6 or 7.
No, their recommendation was 5.
Okay.
And again, I think part of their thinking is in terms of having people who are active and involved. And they liked the idea of the 1 year or 1 person each year, because that means if there's an administration change, it's 4 years before the board turns over. The thing about, again, the biggest concern about a 5-person board was diversity, in that with only 5 positions, one of which is somebody from internal, and 1 person of which is from the opposite party of the town supervisor. You're basically looking at, that leaves you 3 positions to help fill out your diversity. That was the biggest argument for going larger. One individual was willing to go up to 6. Don and a couple others preferred it be odd. So a lot of them, when they did their poll, you'll see there's a bunch of people who picked 5 as their top choice, 7 is their second choice, 6 is their third choice. There's no right or wrong answer. It's basically what we think is going to be most effective.
Does Linda vote if there's a decision, or?
She does.
She does.
Yep.
So there basically is an odd number.
There is an odd, yeah, if
If
there's
you
an odd
include
number on the
Linda.
board, there's an odd number of people. The one other decision that, and I don't remember, I think they did it of present. The other big question is, and one of the things, I was pretty sure of the answer, but Don wasn't there when we were talking about it, is when it requires a majority decision, is it It's basically, what do you do with people who are not present? So if it's a majority of the board as constituted, that would mean I need 3 votes for a decision. If one person, or actually that doesn't change the numbers, but if 2 people aren't present, I still have a quorum. A quorum is a majority. Do I need 3 votes for something to pass, or do I need 2 of those 3 votes for something to pass? So one, is it a majority of the board, or is it a majority of the board present?
I think it should be a majority of the board.
It's the majority of the board. Yeah, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So you're always going to need 3 votes to do anything on a 5-member board.
right.
Yeah. No
And
matter
that's
how
how
many.
town boards are too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think a 5 or 7-member board would be fine either way. I wouldn't recommend an even number board. I think you're going to get into situations, tie votes and things on an ethics board is just going to be a mess. One of the members has taken the stance that if you're not going to have at least one of the members has taken the stance that if you're going to have an odd number board, then to, recommend a censure or something on that level to require a supermajority. So that
Yeah, that'd be 4.
4 on a 5-member board or 5 on a 7-member board. I can see pros and cons to that. I guess my approach on this is to keep it as simple as possible because you're already going to be dealing with controversial issues. And if you start making special rules for the ethics board that don't apply to any of our other boards, I think you're just begging for people to raise issues with it. Why is this board, why in this situation is this the way it works? And over here, it doesn't work that way. So my recommendation would be just to model it off of all the other boards we have. Odd numbered boards, supermajority is almost never a requirement except in very specific circumstances for specific boards. Like
Overruling the only one I'm aware of is if you get turned down by a zoning board of appeals,
right,
and you challenge it to overturn it, it has to be unanimous, not even just supermajority.
Yeah. But those are really the exception to the rule. And one of the core duties of the ethics board is going to be meting out recommendations relating to ethical issues. And so if you're going to require a supermajority to do that, then they're going to be requiring a supermajority a lot of the time, presumably.
If we're gonna have a 5-member board, do we have the members for that?
We do.
And is there interest to have more than 5? I mean, secondarily, there's one more to say 7. But is there a big interest to have more than 5 and to have 7 instead?
So currently, I want to say we have 6 today because I believe it used to be 5 plus an alternate.
Steve, this is Linda. The town code still says 5 plus 1 alternate.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So today we've been doing a 5 plus 1 alternate. I just don't think during these discussion meetings that we've been differentiating between the alternate and the regulars, but
Gotcha.
But
Well, we rarely have an entire board at a meeting.
right. So, going back to your question, Rob, we currently have 6 members. We have 1 member who has already requested to switch to a different board.
Okay.
So the good news, if we go with 5, we've essentially got our members today, assuming they all want to continue to serve. If we go to 7, we'd have to find 2 additional members.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's not a reason to go to
Right.
7. I'm just answering your question.
And how many members, Linda, would usually attend your meetings?
4.
Wait,
Okay.
what? 4 plus Linda.
No, 4 including Linda.
4 including Linda?
We typically had 2 absences.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
Are they the same absences or different absences?
The same.
Largely the same.
Well,
Now, with that said, most of the meetings at this point have been, I'll call them Robert's rules, right? It's been about creating the new rules more than an ethical issue itself. So it's, we actually had, there was one meeting where I thought we had everybody present.
There was, and in addition, we don't have standard meetings like, one Monday a month. We've been having them as we need them, which has not been convenient to everyone's schedule.
Right.
So if we put something on for once a month and then we don't have it if we don't need it, that would be a good thing.
Well, the other thing too is, so we did have a decent response for people reviewing when they were reviewing the trial run of the disclosure statements, right?
Correct.
If
So just to be clear, like I said, some people like the organizational stuff, some people do not.
Got you.
But
right,
there hasn't been for lack of a better way to put it, slacking of the duties with regards to when it's raising the ethical questions. And even the absentees have to do more with, we've been calling these meetings on short notice in response to, hey, we just kicked the stuff back to the board to do something. Trying to find a time when they can all meet is not always easy.
right. Like Linda
That
was
is
saying,
correct.
it's not a regular meeting like town board. We know every second Monday and
Yeah,
Wednesday.
I think we ought, to Linda's point, I think it would be a good idea to schedule that. And then basically, have a cutoff for the agenda. And if the agenda's empty, we cancel the meeting that month.
Or at least plan on having alternates so that, because I feel like the ethics board meeting is going to be the exception to the rule. And, I think in this case, more than any other board, because of that, probably makes sense to have alternates like planned for in advance. I don't think the code as it is considers alternates. So that's one thing I think we should.
Code as it is does have an alternate.
Does it? Okay.
It's just not clear how that alternate interacts.
Okay.
I just sort of look at one of the things, there will be always a couple meetings each year because of the ethics disclosure statements or financial disclosure statements.
That's true. Yeah.
So even if nothing else comes up before the board, there will at least be a couple meetings going forward. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. So if you'll remember, boy, I want to say it was last fall.
I just want to say, I don't see anything in there about alternates, right? I might be missing it, but
There was something about that. I mean, that's how the code is, at least that's how the board's been constituted for some time.
yeah, I just did a search for the word alternate in the current code.
I don't know if they call it that, but.
Okay. Either way, if it's not there, we want it to be there. We'll make sure it's there, right?
Yeah, would it make more sense to just have 7 members anyway?
I mean, ultimately, you still face the same problem as if you have absences, you're not operating at full capacity. So either way, 5 or 7 with alternates.
Right.
I'm honestly, I don't know that we need alternates, to be perfectly honest. I think it creates I think it's hard to find alternates.
Well, and if that's the case, then you call the meeting when you can get a quorum.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, getting a quorum hasn't been an issue. It's been, like I said, getting everybody on board on short notice is tough.
Should we add something in there that says that a member can be removed for repeated absences? Because that would stink if you're stuck with someone for 5 or 7 years, it just never shows up.
Well, isn't this they serve at the pleasure of the town board?
They're getting terms. They're getting 7, 5, and 7-year terms.
4-year terms.
4-year term.
Or 4 and 6, whatever
Right.
depending
So
on
it'd
the
be
size of
4
the
or
board.
6, depending on whether it's 5 or 7. We could take a look at that. What if you could look over the language and see if there's a means to terminate because of that.
Okay.
Okay. So as I was saying, last fall, I just noticed that looking at the imagery, there were a number of properties on Sedgley Park that were encroaching onto town land. Deputy Town Supervisor Craig Eckert went to each of them, spoke to them, pointed out what the issues were. I believe also made some phone calls and or emails. 2 of the properties have been resolved. 4 of them are still a problem. And so I wanted to issue the notice to perform work like we had done with those other 2 problem properties that weren't getting stuff done. And basically say you have a certain amount of time to get your personal and real property off of town land, or else we're going to do it. They also are going to be required to repair any damage done by that, because obviously if they've put a shed or whatever that big tire
Yeah, it looks like there's.
construction is, garden type stuff, that's obviously going to have killed the grass underneath. So one of the things to be clear, some people mow into the park. I don't have an issue with that. What we will probably do for those individuals is have them sign a hold harmless clause. But to me, they're not, as long, you know, we'll basically make sure they understand the parameters. They're not damaging the park. They're not prohibiting. We just make it clear that they can't chase people off that portion. If kids want to play on the area they mowed, they have to allow them. It's parkland, but I have no issue with them mowing it. Because some people, what they want to do is, what they're actually mowing is they're mowing trails from their yards to connect to the trail system at Breeze Park, so that they don't have to walk through there's a kind of a border area of tall grasses and or trees.
Gotcha.
And so I have no issue with that. The town actually has a couple of those trails coming through where we have town access. I have no problem if a regular resident wants to connect their yard to the trail, as long as they understand that's public land, they can't damage it. And that, you know, they have to indemnify if something they're doing, you know, if they're mowing and they hurt themselves mowing, it's on them.
Do you mind if I take a little bit of a closer look at the notices? I think there was a few rounds of those, and I wasn't sure if they were finalized or not.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd like to know from Craig, from the 4 that didn't correct the problem, what they said to him. Do we?
I can find that out. Unfortunately, Craig was on vacation today, but we'll have that answer for you. I'll just have him email it to you, and then, you know, if you have follow-up questions, you can obviously follow up on Wednesday.
Curious how.
Yeah, I think a lot of them shook their head and said, yeah, okay, and
That was the end of it.
that was the end of it.
Okay.
I suspect some of it's because, again, like some of them, it's, you know,
Where it's out,
I think they sort of,
Porterfield?
oh, okay, what are they gonna do? Just slap my hand? You know, I don't know. That
Yeah, they
Yes.
probably wasn't high on their priority.
right.
list.
Some of them, you know,
It's been there
some
for
of
so
them, it's moving a play set or a shed.
Which they probably didn't get a permit for if they're not on their own property.
Yes and no. Because what happens is when people keep mowing slightly bigger, they think that edge of mowed area is the property line. So look, I'm more than 5 feet from the property line.
And then
Mhm.
comparing to their neighbors
Right.
and all of that. sort of
This
thing,
guy
sure.
here looks like he's got a whole nother house back there.
Yeah. There was one that it's,
I can't even, it looks like
Ludicrous
there's
what
a
he's got
second
up there.
pool back. I know it's not a pool, but there's a
Yes.
whole bunch of stuff back there.
there's
Yeah.
gardens, sheds, gazebo, or not gazebo, pergola,
It's like lots of
tires, large truck tire planters.
Yeah.
That blue tarp, I have no idea what that is. That one's massive.
Wow.
That's by far the worst one. A lot of them, like I said, if they move their shed 5 feet to the east, they'll be fine. So anyway, basically this gives them time till 1 o'clock of the next town board workshop to get it corrected, or else we then, they have to come in for the public hearing. At the public hearing, we can give them yet another. So if they come in and say, well, you know, it's just so much massive work, I wasn't able to get it done, we can talk to them and establish a complete by date, at which point then the town goes through and does the work and sends them the bill. So hopefully it won't come to that, but it's gotten ridiculous, the level of some of these. And again, I think like that guy's neighbor, I think when he placed his shed, he just assumed, oh, that must be the property line,
Right.
because it's all kind of cascaded out from that one major encroachment. We have found a couple newer ones. So we're starting the initial process where Craig is just notifying them, hey, be aware your stuff appears to be across property, you know, onto town property. We're not including them in the notice. You know, if it's still like that this fall, we would send out the notice.
So will you make them move the gardens or just the permanent structures? Everything?
Everything.
Okay.
Now, again, at the public hearing, if the board wants to say, so again, I guess it all depends on the garden, right? If it's planted in the ground, that's up to us. We could say, hey, when this harvest is done, don't replant there.
Do we
The
have,
ones that are in those giant truck tires, those need to move now.
It looks like he might have even put trees in.
that's
I
what it
know.
looks like, fruit trees. to
Yeah, it
me.
looks like fruit
Right.
trees.
Do we have the right to go back there and look at what's back there? I mean,
Yeah, it's our land. It's
okay.
town land.
It's town land.
So if we want to go back in down there and walk around and check it out, we
Yep.
won't get in trouble. Okay.
There's, you know, if you want to go with Craig, because he knows where we've staked out and pinned where the property lines are. So you can walk on our land, you can't walk on theirs.
Okay.
There's no fences, so it's, like I said, but.
Yeah, I'd love to just go check it out and see what's.
And
going
then
on.
while you're there, they are starting, the DPW has started to clear the pads for the Breeze Park Play Trail. So we had a good walkthrough. In fact, I took all the measurement of the distances, so I got to put that together so Jeremy can create a GIS map.
That rolls right into 12, right?
That rolls into 12, yep.
Steve, I just so you know, I looked at a resolution from May 26th of this year. And one of the resolved in there says, be it further resolved that upon full execution of the grant agreement of the expenditure of $250,000 on the project is approved to make the purchase of the equipment, materials, and labor as set forth in the project plan. So I think we're good there. I'm not sure if we need this resolution anymore.
So yeah, think about that a little bit more or sense, but yes, if we want to pull that resolution, I didn't realize it had labor. I didn't know if that included outsourced labor, but yeah, so again, this resolution was just going to say that 250 could be material, the equipment and or the installation.
Yeah, our resolution from like a month ago says equipment, materials, and labor as set forth on the project plan via state contract. So if that's the way that it's set up,
Does GSA count?
I'm not sure what GSA stands for.
Government Services
I think,
Administration, it's the federal.
it does say state contract. I mean, it couldn't hurt to reauthorize it if we think there's a technicality like that there.
Right.
It's fine.
The state contract doesn't have the labor, but the GSA does. And basically what the GSA does, because we used to be on it at Pictometry, they negotiate best value, you know, basically it's the best rate that they've ever offered in that area.
Okay.
And so,
So we can just do this resolution then and make sure it says, if it says anything about contracts, that it also allows federal contracts. I think that's okay.
okay. So like I said, basically it was exactly that. I had missed the labor part because I was looking for the word installation.
Mm.
That basically the installation when we got the quote, it wasn't on the state contract. It was on this, I forgot what it's called. Linda, do you remember what that, not the GSA one, but the other one?
Sourcewell,
Say it again?
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell. And it was questionable whether we could purchase off of Sourcewell, but then we did find that it's on the GSA, which we can purchase off of GSA. So, but then it gets into, like I said, I didn't even realize it included labor. I thought it was just that we approved the purchase of the equipment. So that's why this resolution's here. It's just to update it. Doesn't change the price tag. The total is still $250. The total not to exceed. In fact, we're coming in under that. But I just wanted to, again, cross all the T's, dot all the I's. So.
And Steve, Pam received the updated quote with the GSA contract number on it and the vendor who will be doing the work.
Okay. I assume that's gone out to the board.
No, we just got it, so I'll get it over to the, all it's doing is replacing the one that didn't have the quote, the purchasing vehicle on it.
Gotcha. Any other questions on that? 13, basically, this is that house that is doing the sewer through our easement. We had authorized and put in place the out of district agreement. One of the things we realized is we didn't have a license and hold harmless agreement, so we're just authorizing me to sign that.
And can I just ask, is this the one that I looked at? Do you know? I'd been asked to look at one of
To my
them.
knowledge, if it had to do with the sewer, this is the only one that there is that I'm aware of. Chris Martin, do you know that answer?
Yeah, actually, Chris Martin, Director of Engineering and Planning, and yes, Don, this is the one that you reviewed with Roland Osterwinter.
Yep, with the tracer wire and all that.
Yes,
That's it.
Good.
that's it. Any other questions on that? For 14, the Chapman's Corner Ad Hoc Committee. I don't remember if any of you guys responded. If somebody,
I did.
okay, Millie did she add you?
I don't know.
Okay. Becky or Jenny, could we make sure that Millie is on as the town board liaison to that committee?
You got it.
Thank you. So we actually had an initial meeting and walkthrough. We're going to have some follow-up on that, obviously. We were out there looking primarily what to do with the restroom. The current Three Sisters has a restroom in it. It is far from HCA accessible or ADA handicap accessible or ADA compliant. In fact, I guess it had a little tree growing in it when they first got in there. So one of the things we took a look at, Tim Oakes was out there. We pulled up the manhole nearby. We figured out where the line goes. And we're probably going to just build a separate single stall bathroom to connect right into the sewer there and just disconnect the water and sewer from the Three Sisters ice cream shop. The bathroom, it'll be the bathroom and then there'll be I'll call it maintenance closet on the back that will have all the valves to deal with the, there's the old well system. They actually have these where you do the hand pumps and it pumps water, but it actually comes from the municipal water supply instead of well water. But it gives kids that feeling of the old pump system. And then there's also the fountain that we're going to have in the park. So this would have the valves for those, because obviously in the wintertime, both of those have to be disconnected, shut off. And that way, that same plumbing wall is heated, which also solves the problem of now we don't have to heat the old Three Sisters. because it was just stone block wall. The roof, if you've been in there, the roof is coming off. And what we decided, they're going to build the roof to emulate the former front porch of the Chapman's Hotel, including down to the detail. So the architect has put together some good plans. We'll get those updated and out to the whole board. But Millie, if you want to just reach out, and I'll put you in touch with Ann and Bill.
Okay.
Because they're there a bunch. You might want to see if, you know, if you want to do the walkthrough with them. I'm sure they'd be happy to walk through with you to get you up to speed.
Okay, great.
And that way, you're again at the same place where we are when we have our next meeting.
So Supervisor Schultz, can I ask that this work not be done until we own it?
So they're doing the work
Okay.
and they're going to donate that work to the town.
Oh, that's beautiful then.
So one of the things that we are going to need in place though is in a purchase agreement in place, because for instance, when we're digging the trench, we're going to have our crews, well, we can't be digging on private property unless we're going to take ownership of. So at some point down, we're going to have to put together a purchase agreement so that we can do that work. But they're doing the work on the roof. They're doing the work on all that stuff.
Okay.
We will be the ones who put in the bathroom. But
Okay.
to your point, again, they're gonna do a bunch of the work, then they're gonna donate it to the town, and then we're gonna finish the work.
What's the purchase price?
The purchase price is what they originally purchased the land for.
Okay.
And that's gonna have to wait for next year, because basically it's gotta be put in the budget. But all the additions that they're buying the fountains, they're paying for the roof, they're doing all that stuff, so. And they're gonna basically offer it to us for what they purchased it for,
That'll be very nice.
so.
I noticed they cut down a lot of trees over there. They did some work.
There were a bunch of dead trees, dead or dying trees, and they did bring those down. They've been working with the neighbors. Like one of the things they've talked about is whether the fire hall 2 would be willing to, if we put electrical there, there's a large pine tree, or I don't know if it's pine or spruce or whatever, evergreen tree, that they would light it.
Okay.
Like at Christmas time?
At Christmas time, yep. So they've been working with the church next door, so they've been doing a good job in terms of working with the neighbors to
Great.
work in there. We did talk to New York State DOT. We're going to close the entrance off of West Henrietta Road. The only way into it'll be an expanded parking lot. The only way into it will be off a treetop.
Okay.
So as to prevent people, it simplifies the intersection there.
Great.
And like I said, there's a lot of neat elements they're putting into, like the former Three Sisters Ice Cream Building. Again, that's going to be the presentation of the
Historic district.
For that historic district. There's going to be a bunch of stuff on the walls, some murals, and included on the front will be homage to the days when it was Three Sisters Ice Cream.
Beautiful.
What we'll have to do is for the park opening, we're going to have to find somebody to serve ice cream out of there.
That won't be too hard.
But yes, to your point, Rob, we'll either own it, or again, we'll have the agreement in place that will allow most of the work that we'll be doing. Again, it doesn't make sense to me to have Bill and Ann, for instance, pay someone to come and scrape the gravel out of the road or the old tire tracks when our crews can do that. So, but in terms of like the roof and all that stuff and the fountain, they're actually paying for it, not us. The one I've committed us to is the bathroom. Any other questions on that?
Steve, this is one of those meetings where I have another meeting following up. So looking at the agenda, this looked like the endpoint for legal type stuff.
Okay.
All right. If anything comes up, you know where to find me.
Okay.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. 15, proclaiming Pride Week in Henrietta. So This is going to be more akin to 2 years ago when we actually have a flag raising ceremony. Millie has been working with the community, as have some others, in terms of essentially coordinating that, picking the time, and then, you know, the Pride community in Henrietta is going to be leading some of the effort in terms of what does that ceremony look like. Millie, did you want to touch on that more?
Well, I've been able to connect with some of the young people who were impacted by the original Pride event that we had here in Henrietta. And it was a very meaningful event, and it's something that I think that they would like to be able to pass on to other members of their generation and younger. And of course, I've been working with individuals who planned the first Pride event, and they've been helping to give me guidance and information as to where to go and all that.
Any other questions? Nope. 16, this one we're actually going to vote on now.
Just real
Oh,
quick.
sorry.
Yep, for the Pride one, can we add just a LGBTQ plus community in the resolution?
Sure.
Thank you.
Did you hear that, Becky or Jenny?
Got it.
Thank you. I don't. Hold on a second. I got to pull up the. I've got to pull up the resolution itself.
You want to?
Oh, you got it?
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's right there.
Okay, I'll, fellow town board members, I have resolution 14-175, 2021. Whereas Tayden Rexford Fort has achieved the rank of Eagle Scout in Boy Scout Troop 750. And whereas to achieve that rank, Tayden has earned merit badges in 27 different disciplines, including model design and citizenship of the world, 2 of his favorites that helped him earn the Bronze Palm Award for merit badges. And whereas during his time in Scouts, Tayden has held the position of assistant patrol leader, and senior patrol leader, completed the National Youth Leadership Training, and was selected as a member of the Order of the Arrow. And whereas Tayden has graduated top of his class at McQuaid Jesuit in 2020 with highest honors and distinction, as well as numerous honors and scholarships, including being named an ambassador for McQuaid, and is now attending Kettering University, pursuing mechanical engineering as well as an MBA. And whereas for his Eagle project, Tayden built a flagpole at the RHAA athletic fields where he had played baseball for much of his life, building a decorative stone wall that incorporates a bench for spectators to sit, and inlaid dedication stones for each of the 5 branches of the military around the flag. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board joins Pinnacle Lutheran Church, sponsors of Troop 750, in recognizing the achievement and honor of Tayden Rexford Fort in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout.
Second.
So the Eagle Scout ceremony is tomorrow. I unfortunately don't have the time in front of me. If anybody's listening knows the time. If not, when I get back, I'll dig it up in my email and send it out to you guys. If anybody wants to be there.
That is going to be at the church again, right? Like we went there a couple of years ago.
At Pinnacle?
Pinnacle Lutheran, right?
I seem to think he's doing it out in the park.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
The RHAA Park?
No, I think, well, I'm not sure. No, I got it. So anyway. Hold on. Oh, damn it. It's all right.
No problem.
It's apparently the first time I logged into this laptop since I changed my connection password. Okay, meeting back at 7. Invite 6 p.m. We get the rest of the details. It is the RHA baseball fields, probably right around the flagpole that he installed.
That's nice.
So 6 p.m. tomorrow evening at the RHA baseball fields, 5970 West Henrietta Road. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. And then we have Josh Hager, who actually already had his ceremony. That's the one that I had gotten 2 very similar names mixed up. So he is going to be coming. He'll be at the meeting tomorrow to receive his ceremony, or his certificate, excuse me. Next up, we've got a discussion for Stop the Violence March. So I'll start off and then I'm going to hand it over to Pam. Cliff Harris has been organizing some Stop the Violence marches in the city. And this is in response to a bunch of the
That was Clay Harris?
Clay Harris. Sorry, I said Clay. Thank you. Clay Harris. Thank you, Rob.
Yep, no problem.
You know he's going to bust my chops about that.
Yep.
Anyway, he has been organizing some in the city, and he would like to work expand them out to the suburbs, because this is a problem that is throughout the county. Violence has been on the upswing, unfortunately. We reached out, so we started in Henrietta. I made the suggestion and reached out to Town Supervisor Bill Melee about doing a combined one with
Brighton.
With the idea that we would essentially march north, and they would march south, and we would meet at MCC. He wanted to have, after the march, he wanted to have some speakers. And so I've reached out to MCC to see if they would be willing to, to see if they would be willing to host it out, on one of their outside, whether it's a ball field or, stadium, somewhere with bleachers for people to sit. And so we've started that discussion. The plan is, I believe, so one of the days was Brighton Town Board meeting. I think that was the 14th, so it would be the 15th. Is that correct, Pam? Do you?
Yes, that's what I had, that we confirmed the date of the 15th. I wasn't sure if it was confirmed with Brighton or if we just noticed a conflict.
Right. Originally, Clay wanted to do it the 8th. I told him that's not enough time to plan something of this out. So I also reached out to, I thought, a good starting point, because to get to MCC, we would want to go up a route that wouldn't put people in harm's way or greatly congest traffic. So our thought was we would go up Clay Road. And so my suggestion was we use Peter Minotti Plaza or Minotti Plaza as the starting point. I reached out to the owner of that plaza, Frank Berger. He said absolutely, start, especially in the right-hand corner. There's a large parking area, large portion there. There's no tenants there currently.
Gotcha.
So it's a a good location. I kind of like the idea of starting in a plaza named after Peter. And then again, we would march north. The initial discussions, I haven't heard confirmation from Brighton, was that they would start at the Monroe Community Hospital, which is also the grounds where they have the youth board, and they would march south. It's about the same distance, and we would meet on the southwest corner of the MCC campus and then have the speaker. So that's what we're looking at. Pam's team has already started to work on some of the logistics, such as shuttle buses to get people back to their cars at Menotti Plaza. Go ahead, Pam, if you've got other stuff.
Well, the biggest thing is to get as many people and groups involved as we can. So Anita's already reached out to school. We want to get to the local churches, the scout groups. So we're going to start walking at 8:30 at night, or 6:30, and then that should take a half hour ish, and then we're going to have a forum. We're inviting some local dignitaries to speak. We hope to have some music, and we're going to invite someone to do an opening prayer, and then it should all be ended around 8:30. So we'll have the buses there around 8:15 to bring everyone back. But it's really to reach out to the community and get as many people involved as we can. So that's what we're going to be working on next. We do have a conference call that's Clay was trying to schedule for tomorrow. Steve, did you see that? Tomorrow or Wednesday, I believe, to work out all the details, and then we can really get on the publicity.
So that date was July 15th?
Correct.
Okay.
The Thursday?
Yep.
I believe it's 2 weeks from Thursday, right?
Yep.
Yes. We want to get the local law enforcement involved as well. We're also going to try to get some help from them to get people across those two busy streets during the march.
Right. Any other questions?
Well, they've had these marches in the city and law enforcement's been really involved, so it should be okay. It should be fine.
Do you want me to ask Clay if he can come to Wednesday's meeting if we had, or anything? Talk
Sure.
about it, or?
Yep.
Okay. If not, I'll get Cliff.
Okay. That is, Cliff is actually the guy from the State Farm
Oh, is that?
commercial. He's Chris Paul's brother. They call him
Gotcha.
Uncle Cliff.
Or Cliffy Clavin. For those Cheers fans. Okay, thank you, Pam.
Welcome.
We have a number of tax certiorari settlement agreements. One of them does include back payments. I believe that's the first one. If you don't know, the Rochester Airport Hospitality, it's the former Radisson Inn on the RIT campus. That one was the Rochester Airport Radisson. I don't know why, because it's not near the airport, but I guess it's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Charlene, if you want to add anything to either of those. If you answered, you're muted.
Charlene's not on.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So when it comes to because that was just recently sold, right? Is that the,
My understanding is, yes, it was recently sold.
so how does that, when the refunds come, how does that work? Does it go to the old
Previous owner.
previous owner, right?
To my knowledge, I don't know that for certain. That's
That's what I meant.
but it's the county that handles all that.
We owe them money?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the assessment got lowered by what, 35%, it looks like?
Some percent, yeah. A lot of these we've been able to settle without back payments. This one we were not. I believe this second one had no back payments, but I'm not.
Yeah, I think you're right from what I read.
Any other questions on that? 21 and 22 are for 2 pickup trucks, one for DPW, the other one for highway. They basically found a really good deal and said, hey, let's use that one for both. Part of the sum is replacement, one is replacement and one is expansion because Chuck used to wear 2 hats and therefore he only had to drive 1 car. We now got 2 people filling that role, so we needed an extra vehicle. Got it.
I didn't see,
What's that?
Would anybody know if we had anybody locally respond to those? That none of these were local. I was just curious when I saw. If there's-
Mike or Tim, if either you are on, do you know if there was anyone local who responded to the RFP?
This is Mike. Chuck handled that whole thing, so he did it off. Used to be OSG. I don't know what it is now.
Chuck does usually look for locals, so I would suspect the answer is either there was no one local who responded or that their response was so significantly higher that he went with the folks he did. Because like I said, typically wherever possible, he goes local. Any other questions?
Nope.
Dump truck.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. We also have, so the plow dump truck that we had authorized purchase for, in the intervening time, the cost of the equipment has gone up largely due to supply chain and steel prices, I guess. So we have to authorize an increase.
Was that done by a bid also in the past?
That one I think is off a state contract. I'm trying to get to that one. I'm not quite there
Yeah,
yet.
I couldn't find it on here. That's why I'm asking.
I think that one's off a state contract. Yeah, so the other ones were done on the OGS mini bid. Let me see about the truck. That one, again, we'd already approved it previously. It's basically going up by a little over $2,000.
The reason I asked is I was wondering if any of the other bidders would be
No.
less than that with that.
We did ask that.
Okay.
I did ask that question. We tried to hold them to the price and they're like, look, it's not. It's basically, for lack of a better way to put it, pass through. It's an increase that happened.
Right. Okay. And it is.
Any other questions on that? We have a donation from an anonymous donor for the library. A significant amount, $1,500. We have some item surplus also from the library. I don't know if you want to touch on any of that, Adrian, or not.
It's just some old broken stuff.
And then we have for the cyber liability policy, we basically have some contracts and policies. So because of their amount and or binding, you guys will need to authorize me to be able to sign those. I don't know if you have any details on that you want to share, Linda?
Just with everything that's going on in the world today, the cost of obviously cyber liability insurance is skyrocketing. So while ours did go up almost $2,000, it was less than any of the other quotes that we got.
Oh.
And then we have a purchase of desktop computers as part of the budget. That's again part of our rotation of upgrades, upgrading a certain number of PCs a year so that we get them all upgraded.
So the only question I have on this one is that we still have the old IT person's name on here,
Yeah, I saw that.
and they got Calkins Road spelled wrong. I don't know how they spelled Calkins. I'm sure we'll get delivered the right place, but
Michelle and Calkins spelled.
Yeah, that's not even close.
no.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to be an issue in terms of delivery.
So maybe we can have our new IT
Yeah,
person's
yeah.
name on there the next time we have an order.
Yep. So Andrew, if you're on, educate HP on our street spelling as well as the fact that it should be addressed to you and not to Michelle.
The email too is her email.
That's there too, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that part always amazed me at how wrong that some of them can get that stuff. But it was by far the best price, so.
Mm-hmm.
We have some budgetary transfers. And personnel items. I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on either of those, Linda?
Just one budget transfer request from a particular department. And then the personnel items include some new hires, some seasonals, a couple of changes. And then they also include all the rec department summer seasonal employees. So you'll see almost 2 pages of those. And then just as an FYI, basically, because we're under contract, the authorization of the progression increases for union employees.
I don't know if I correctly heard you for the FYI. What was that, Linda?
It's the step increases because
Okay.
The
it's
progression increases, we're contractually obligated
right.
to
Okay.
pay those. So there was some conversation on whether they should or should not get included on a board resolution. So to err on the side of too much information, we include them.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what the point is. You couldn't vote them down. We'd still owe them.
Right.
But it basically just lets you know what is there. We decided we were originally going to not put them in, and then we just said, you know what, let's put them in. If it was the only thing that was on there, it would just be a discussion item. It wouldn't be a vote. But because the other stuff requires voting, we just put it all together. So. Has you down for bills payable, Rob?
Yes, sir.
And then who's on next month? Do we know?
I think it's me.
Okay. Obviously, Exhibit A will be updated soon. I signed a bunch of them today for the bills payable. Anything under old business? If not, can I get a resolution to approve the minutes?
Supervisor, I make a motion to approve the minutes from our preceding town board workshop meeting on June 7th, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Barley,
Aye.
Councilmember Stafford,
Aye.
Councilmember Safranek,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. I think that concludes the meeting. Anybody have anything else?
I'd just like to thank the you, Mr. Supervisor, for coming by the blood drive to contribute to the cause. I really appreciate you being there. I didn't get to tell you that Saturday, but thanks for coming out. Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Did you get the final count?
They told me there that we did 46 units, which is outstanding.
Right.
I think the last time it was like 33. So that helps to save a lot of lives. They did a great job there. The Red Cross did too. So thanks everybody for coming and contributing.
Especially this time of year, 46 is quite high with people away and everything, right?
Right, yeah.
There's a big demand, big need for it.
Thank you for Rob I know you promote that quite a lot. And thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Oh. Sorry, I've got a whole bunch of stuff in my inbox because for the Google Mail for this tablet, because there was some wrong information on the dog parks on Google Maps. So I sent in the thing to take control of it. Well, apparently it's opened up a whole bunch of spam.
Oh boy.
I guess a lot of it is reviews.
They have your email address now.
They have my email address now, so I get a bunch of the reviews. 4s, 5s, there's a 1. I haven't read what was wrong. So anyway. Oh, they didn't know you had to be registered to come there.
That's our fault.
Well, if you didn't see it on the website, we'll make sure it's prominent on our website.
Right.
Anything else? Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.